Give me an F. Give me an E. Give me an A. Give me an R. What does that spell? Fear Street Cheerleaders. Woo! This is embarrassing as fuck. Hi everyone. Welcome or welcome back to Gavin Reads It All. Your last time here? Okay, understandable. So last year in October, I ended up going through all of the original 51 Fear Street books. And ever since then, I've been wanting to tackle more of the spin-off Fear Street series that R.L. Stine wrote. R.L. Stine is my childhood hero. The Goosebumps series is one of my favorite series of all time, despite my love-hate relationship with it. But I do love going through an entire series in one video, and that is what today's video is going to be. I obviously can't get enough of my man R.L. Stine. And there is a brand new Netflix film coming out soon called Fear Street Prom Queen, and that is loosely inspired by one of the original Fear Street books, The Prom Queen. I've already read this one. I read this one in that video that I mentioned, which I will link down below. So if you want to check out my review of this, please feel free to do so. But I am in a huge Fear Street mood with the new movie coming out. So I thought it was about time that I read the Fear Street spin-off series that I own, and that is the Cheerleaders books. I think the Fear Street trilogy that came out on Netflix in 2021 was also loosely inspired by certain things in the Cheerleader series. So really I should have done this video then and did the original Fear Street books now with the Prom Queen coming out, but this is the best I can do. So in this video, I will be reading all 5 of the Fear Street Cheerleaders books, including the first evil, the second evil, the third evil, the new evil, and finally, The Evil Lives. I believe this is the correct reading order according to Wikipedia. This series was also highly requested in the comments of my Fear Street video, so I'm very excited to finally dive into them. Everything will be timestamped down below, so without further ado, I will get straight into reading the books. But firstly, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. But again, I will not judge you if this does end up being the first and last video you ever watch of mine. Okay, it's been over a week since I filmed that introduction, and I have finished all 5 of the Fear Street Cheerleaders books, and I want to talk about all the things that happen in a spoiler format. I think I forgot to mention in my introduction that this will be filled with spoilers, so please be aware of that going forward. So if you have not yet read the Cheerleaders books and you want to, please do go read them first, come back to the video and let's chat about it. And I do want to preface this by saying that even though I can be quite negative with the Fear Street books, this was such an entertaining story, such an entertaining storyline. And this is a good batch of books. I mean, some I definitely prefer over others, and I don't think we ended the series on a very good note, but I will say that the first evil, starting off with, is probably one of my favorite Fear Street books of all time. So we have the first evil, the first book in the Cheerleader series, and honestly this one surprised me. I was so surprised and taken back by how good the story actually was, like how many times it had like a twist that genuinely did kind of twist the knife in a little bit and make me rethink a lot of my stances on Fear Street. Like it is actually like a really well written, I mean, there are definitely some pitfalls here, some traps that we fall into from R.L. Stine's previous series, of course, like the pranks, the stupid pranks, the pranks that they do. Like, so we follow Bobby and Corky. They are 2 sisters and they want to try out for the cheerleading team. They've just moved to Fear Street, and so they want to make their name at their school by joining the cheerleading squad. But we start the story off with them pranking their younger brother Sean. They leave this like real looking rat in front of Sean's door, and then they hear him scream, and then Bobby randomly pretends to be dead on the banister, and all of this happens in 10 pages. So I was like, we're not off to a good start here, because if you know me at all, you know that I hate all of the pranks that happen in it, because half the time it takes away from the fear, it takes away from the scares. So many cliffhangers are just pranks, or people just saying things that they didn't actually mean. And honestly, that really does piss me off. So already I know, like, this isn't a 5-star book. This ain't gonna be a 5-star. So after all the prankings out of the way, Bobby and Corky end up going to school and they do their cheerleading tryouts. They meet Jennifer, who is the captain of the team, and Kimmy is like the assistant captain person, and Deborah as well. And Kimmy and Deborah like can't stand Bobby and Corky. Like they really don't want them to join the team. Like the team is pretty much full anyway. They only really have a spot for 1, and there's obviously 2 who want to join. But when Bobby and Corky do their routine, they realize like, damn, these girls are good. Like we need them on the team. However, Kimmy is still like, no, it's not fair. Don't let them on the team. Like I hate them. You know, it's just a lot of judgment like straight away. Obviously, I feel like when it's competitive cheerleading, this might make sense in a sort of scope of like the cheerleader. I don't know though, because I've never been a cheerleader. I know, shocking. So maybe if there are any cheerleaders out there, please do let me know, because this comes up in pretty much every single Fear Street Cheerleaders book. Whenever there's a new person about to join and they're actually good, they're always like, oh, we hate them, don't like them. I mean, they're great for the team, like glad that they've joined the team, but I hate them, can't stand them. And I feel like maybe it's a lot of pressure too, that people put on themselves in this cheerleading world. So you kind of automatically hate the people who might be better than you. And Jennifer is like so happy that Bobby and Corky are joining the team. She seems really nice and upbeat, but she does make this random comment where she's like, I used to be so popular, like I'm the most popular person, but no one will recognize me or notice me after you guys join. And it seems like a little bit of a, okay, weird kind of moment, but I think it was a way of like R.L. Stine maybe setting up some, you know, early jealousy there to make Jennifer a suspect in like what's about to go down. So a couple of weeks pass, and this is when like the story gets like really good, and it's still quite early on in the story too. Like literally page 30, they are going to like their first away game, and there is like the private school bus that a guy called Simmons is driving, so it's just for the cheerleaders. And Jennifer's like, oh, have you guys got your fire batons? Because this is like such a dangerous cheerleading squad. Like they have fire batons, they have cannons and all this, that and the other. And Corky and Bobby realize, oh, we accidentally left our fire batons at home on Fear Street. We're gonna have to make a detour to Fear Street so that we can pick them up. And everyone's like, oh, for fuck's sake, but they'll do it anyway. But it's so good as well at the minute because the atmosphere is rife. So they're on the school bus, it's thunder and lightning, it's a bit of a flash storm, and it's so exciting. I was like, oh, I'm kind of getting a little bit of goosebumps here. Really liking the ambience, really liking the atmosphere in here. So they get to like Fear Street, and Jennifer stands up at the front and she wants to like do this whole like speech thing. She wants to kind of rally the team together and stuff, but like the rain's coming down really heavy. For some weird reason, the bus driver, Simmons, opens the door. He's driving. There's a storm. He opens the door. Some of the cheerleaders are like, why is he opening the door for? And they're like, oh, it is a little bit steamy in here. Maybe he did it, you know, like for the steam and stuff. But when you have one of your, you know, passengers at the very front of the bus, right next to this door, by the way, why in the world would you open it? Why would you open that freaking door? So bus goes a little bit out of control. Jennifer flies out. I shouldn't laugh. That's so bad. Jennifer flies off the bus and the bus tips over, which again, like so exciting. I was like, oh my God, like this is actually like really exciting. Like once you pass the stupid pranks and what have you and the unlikable characters, you do have like a really good story there. So after this bus accident, they get off the bus and they say Jennifer, she's landed on a grave, and it's the grave of Sarah Fear. And if you've seen the Fear Street Netflix trilogy, you know that Sarah Fear is a character. She comes up. So now I can understand what little bits of inspiration that Fear Street trilogy took from the Cheerleader series. And again, it's not really a lot. It's literally just the name Sarah Fear for most of it. I think pretty much everything else was just like brand new. Like it wasn't even connected to Fear Street all that much. But anyway, yeah, Jennifer landed on Sarah Fear's grave and Jennifer is dead. She's dead. Like she's been killed. I was like, oh my God. Like, again, I should be laughing. That's so awful. However, right, she's dead, right? And then like 2 minutes later, she wakes up. And this is when I was getting a little bit suspicious. Like, I know R.L. Stine likes to go back on his word. He likes to play pranks and what have you. I will have words with him at some point. But Jennifer, she opens her eyes and she kind of like shakes it off. Like she does get injured, like very badly. She has to use a wheelchair. But I was like, is she actually alive? Or because she landed on Sarah Fear's grave, is she possessed? Like that's what I thought. And I'm just going to spoil it now because again, this is all spoilers. It does turn out to be the case. But I kind of liked how it was done in this story. I don't mind it when a twist is kind of obvious if I think it's done pretty well. And I do think R.L. Stine does a good job at writing that in this story. So back to some cheerleader drama. We have Bobby get named the cheerleading captain. So Kimmy is obviously pissed because Kimmy's been part of the team for 2 years and she deserves the cheerleading captain role. Bobby's only been there for a few weeks with her sister Corky. Like she doesn't deserve that spot. So Kimmy quits. Jennifer does get Kimmy to come back, even though, you know, Bobby is the captain now and Kimmy resents it so much. But Jennifer and Bobby have been getting closer since the accident, which again, like comes across as like very sweet. But random spooky things start to happen now. So, for instance, when Bobby is just walking down the hallway, all the lockers open and she can hear like voices and screams and stuff. And she's like, what's going on? Like, is this whole place haunted? Like, why am I the only person really saying this? And then during a game, like the Tigers are what the Shady Side sports team are called. During a game, Chip, who oh my gosh, we need to talk about Chip actually. So Chip is Kimmy's ex-boyfriend. So Chip broke up with Kimmy 2 weeks before and now he's asking Bobby out. And Bobby is like, you know what, why not? And so when Bobby tells Jennifer, like she flares her eyes. This is one thing that R.L. Stine loves to do as well. When there is a suspect, whenever someone does anything suspicious, they flare their eyes. Take a shot every time someone flares their eyes. Or they have like an evil smile. So Jennifer, when she's told this, she says, oh yeah, I had a crush on Chip since like 3rd grade. You didn't say yes to him, did you? You aren't going out with him, are you? Like she's a little bit weird about that. And she's like, no, but that's Kimmy's boyfriend. Like, even though they split up 2 weeks ago, that's Kimmy's, you know, like, you shouldn't really do anything like that, especially since Kimmy's already pissed at her for taking the captain spot. So going back to Chip in this Tigers game, Chip is, you know, playing this game and he has the ball and he freezes. He can't move. And so he keeps getting the ball taken off him. And then the third time it happens, he ends up getting buried beneath different players who have like jumped on him to tackle him and stuff. And so Chip gets hurt. And Chip is like, well, when he tells Bobby about it, he's like, I was genuinely frozen in place. I couldn't move. I felt paralyzed. I felt like I was dead. I felt like I was watching it happen without being able to control myself. And it was so weird. And Bobby's like, oh, interesting. Okay. And then Bobby tells Jennifer and Jennifer flares her eyes again. I'm like, how do you flare your eyes? Like, is this flaring your eyes? I don't know. And then during practice, Kimmy gets on top of the pyramid and Bobby is supposed to catch her. However, Bobby is frozen in place. She can't catch Kimmy and she can't warn Kimmy as well. So when Kimmy jumps, Bobby's just standing there and it looks like she did on purpose because Kimmy and Bobby have been fighting. There has been a physical altercation between them. And so it looks like Bobby did that on purpose. And obviously Jennifer's there as well. So again, finger of suspicion points to her. And I think it's Deborah as well. Deborah is like, that was attempted murder. Oh no, it might be Ronnie. There is somebody called Ronnie as well. These girls, like, you do end up starting to like them after this book as well. Well, some of them anyway. Some of them don't make it out of this book alive. Some of the girls you do end up liking, but like, say, Kimmy, Deborah, Ronnie, they don't really stand too much on their own in this book, so it's very easy to forget them. But I think it was actually Ronnie who was like, that was attempted murder, like, Bobby tried to kill her. Obviously a little bit extreme, calm yourself. But it does mean that Bobby loses her captain spot because the team don't trust her anymore. And Miss Green, who is the cheerleading captain, the coach, whatever, she, you know, asks Bobby to step down. So after Bobby steps down, Bobby decides to use the showers. And she's by herself. She goes into the shower room and the doors lock and all the showers turn on and the showers are scalding hot. And this is when it like kind of left me wigless. Bobby dies. She gets killed by these scalding hot showers. She's literally burned to death. And you know what's even worse? Like, even though Bobby was like our main character up to this point, what's even worse is that Corky, her sister, is the one who finds her. Like, how? That is so bad. Why do I feel like laughing? It's so bad. No, it was great. It was great. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm eating this up. Like, this is definitely one of the best Fear Street books that has ever been written. I was loving it. Like, it was dramatic. Characters were dying. Like, Bobby died. And it's confirmed that she is dead. Like, she is actually dead. Like, Stine doesn't go back on his word. We have the funeral, I think, like 4 days later or 2 weeks later or something. And yeah, now Corky is the main character. I was like, that's so good. That is so good. And also Corky as well, before she finds her sister's body in the shower, is like red as a lobster and she's been like scalded to death. She finds this pendant thing by Bobby's clothes and she recognizes it as Kimmy's, but she doesn't say anything. She forgets about it because she puts it in her pocket before she finds her sister's body. She puts it in her pocket and she just forgets all about this pendant. So now, flashing forward to the present day now, she finds the pendant in her pocket because she sees her sister every day. It was so sad, like the way that Corky was just distraught over her sister's death. And it is like such a sad thing because Bobby was so young. She hadn't lived her life yet. So I thought that was pretty well done too. Like the sisterly dynamic was great. Corky, she ends up going to Kimmy's. And Kimmy and Deborah and Ronnie, they're there. And they feel so bad for Corky. Like, even though they were bitches before, they're like, we are genuinely so sorry this happened. And, you know, if there's anything you need, let us know. But Corky accuses Kimmy of killing Bobby because the pendant was there. But then Kimmy's like, that isn't my pendant anymore. I gave that to Jennifer. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've just totally missed something as well. This is all over the place. I'm so sorry. But before Bobby died, she does go to Jennifer's. And then when Bobby leaves Jennifer's, Bobby sees Jennifer through the window walking, even though she shouldn't be allowed to walk because she's in a wheelchair. So Bobby got a little bit suspicious of Jennifer then. So Bobby was telling Corky about it, and Corky wouldn't believe her. And I did kind of really like the way that it was written because, yeah, Corky doesn't believe her at all. But the end of part 2, this is some Stephen King foreshadowing shit. Corky had no way of knowing that this was the last night she would ever spend with her sister. And so that kind of like set up the fact that, maybe Bobby was going to die. But again, I couldn't quite trust it then because R.L. Stine lies to me all the time. He lies to the reader all the time. But yeah, that was the last time that Corky and Bobby had an interaction, was Corky not believing her about Jennifer. So again, like back to, you know, after accusing Kimmy and Kimmy saying, oh, that's Jennifer's pendant now, like I gave it to her. Corky ends up going to Seraphia's grave where Jennifer is. And Jennifer reveals herself. She says, I'm not Jennifer. Jennifer still died. The day she was like thrown off the bus, she died. She is dead. But her body has been taken over by an evil spirit that was trapped in Seraphia's grave. Not Seraphia. At this moment in time, it's not Seraphia, but an evil spirit that's trapped in this grave. And finally it came out because, Jennifer died on the grave. So there is a really intense fight between Corky and Jennifer. Jennifer pushes Corky into the grave and Corky has to claw her way out. And then Corky pretty much strangles the evil spirit out of Jennifer. And at this moment in time as well, Kimmy, Ronnie, and Deborah, they say the whole thing. And then, yeah, the evil spirit has left Jennifer. And Jennifer's body, like, accelerates decomposition because she's been dead for weeks. So, like, her body just, like, fast forwards to the state she should be in, which was a great gnarly visual. Like, this was filled with great gnarly visuals that I just freaking ate up. So it looks like the spirit goes back into the grave, and that's like kind of how we leave it. It seems like they've won, or have they? So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Like, it's such a great start to the series. This, a spoiler alert, is my favorite Fear Street Cheerleaders book, so none of them come quite close to this one. I just love the fact that Jennifer died, who was set up to be like quite a good almost companion to begin with. Like, she was the one who was the most sympathetic to Bobby and Corky when they first joined, like the one who was most open to them joining, and she ended up dying. And then Bobby, our main character at the start of this, turns out to be not our main character anymore. Literally pulling a Scream in a cycle. And now Corky, the sister, is the main character. I just love that bait and switch. It was so good. Again, not perfect because there were too many pranks again, too many cop-outs, but the atmosphere was genuinely great. Love the atmosphere so much. So yeah, we are off to a great start with the Cheerleader series. Moving on to the second evil, there was something that I kind of forgot to mention in the first evil review. I mean, I mentioned it a little bit, but I didn't touch up too much about it. But Chip, who was, Kimmy's ex-boyfriend, who actually started dating Bobby before she died. Like, they kissed and everything. We start off this second book with the confirmation that Chip is now dating Bobby's sister, Corky. So Corky has taken her dead sister's boyfriend. How messy is that? That's literally the first thing we learn about in this story. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, where's the sisterhood? I mean, I know Bobby's dead. But is it just me? But is that weird? Like, she's getting off with her dead sister's boyfriend. Like, isn't that weird? No, come on. Anyway, I love the character progression in this one with Kimmy and Deborah specifically. Kimmy seems to have changed. I mean, there is a reason why. It does turn out that Kimmy now has the evil inside her, spoiler alert, but there's genuine growth with Kimmy and Deborah after what they witnessed at the end of the first book. Corky is at the cheerleading squad, and Deborah, Ronnie, Kimmy, they really want her to come back. They think that they can help one another after, the grief of losing Bobby, and they just feel like changed people after what they witnessed. So I actually really, really liked the way that the characters were written in this one. I mean, sometimes Corky did frustrate me because of the whole getting with your dead sister's boyfriend thing, but that is not going to be a problem for much longer, let me tell you. You know what's funny as well is this happens a couple of times. I think it happens in this book and then it happens in the next book with Kimmy. But this is so funny. Corky and Deborah are together in the living room and Deborah asks, "How are you, Corky? I've been meaning to come over for a long time." And Corky says, "I'm okay, I guess." And then Deborah said, her blue eyes suddenly glowing with intensity, been into Corky's, "No, I mean really. I mean, how are you really?" And then Corky's like, "Not great." And she tells her, but the exact same phrasing, the exact same everything happens in the next book between Kimmy and Corky. Kimmy's like, "Oh, how are you, Corky?" And Corky's like, "I'm fine." And then Kimmy's like, "No, how are you really?" And she has like this intense burn in her eyes. And then Corky's like, "Yeah, not great." The exact same thing. I'm just like, I don't know why. I just finally picked up on that. You know what else I really pick up on as well? Whenever someone falls over, there is a sickening crack. That happens a couple of times in this one. I think it happens in the next one as well. Might have also happened in the first one too, but I didn't write that one down because at that time, there wasn't that many sickening cracks happening, but it got to be a problem. Like, I'm about to show my sickening crack in a minute if Artemis was about to use that phrase one more time. But anyway, Deborah thinks the evil is still around and, she's getting into her occult books and stuff. So while Deborah and Corky are at Corky is making a hot chocolate for them, but something seems to control her and Corky ends up pouring scalding hot water on herself. Kind of a callback to the fact that her sister died in scalding hot water. So I like the kind of tie back to that. And Corky genuinely felt paralyzed in that moment, exactly like how Chip was in the first book during the game. So Corky starts to see this strange boy following her around. She doesn't know who he is just yet. She goes to Sarah Fear's grave because Bobby's grave is nearby. There's also 4 graves like around Sarah's grave that you can't really say the names of, but they died the same year as Sarah Fear, which is 1899. R.L. Stine does mess up I think either in this book or the next book, when he goes back in time to that summer and he accidentally says it's summer 1898, but it's definitely not, it's 1899. Just want to randomly bring that up as well because I'm pedantic like that. But another cop-out of R.L. Stine's is that he says that Corky sees a figure come out of Sarah Fier's grave, like actually come out of the grave. Turns out they didn't actually come out of the grave. She just thought they did. And the person turns out to be called Sarah Beth Plummer. And Sarah Beth Plummer, she is doing some graveyard rubbing. That's right, it's the middle of the night, she's come to rub some gravestones. Rub, not rob. Rub. Because she says like so many of them deserve to have like their names shown and, you know, time has made them a little bit grim. But yeah, she's there to rub some graves. Never heard that one before. But obviously she's like a little bit suspicious. And Sarah Beth Plummer actually knows some things about Sarah Fier. And so Sarah Beth Plummer tells them how Sarah Fier died. And it turns out that Sarah Fier was on a boat with a couple of children, her servant. So that explains like why there's like 4 graves around her. And they were on Fier Lake, which is a callback to the overnight. And even though it was a very calm, clear day, there was nothing weird about the water. The boat suddenly like capsized and drowned them all. And that was how Sarah Fier died. So that was interesting to find out. But again, like kind of odd that someone called Sarah is telling them this, right? So anyway, Corky's going about her business. She finds out that the guy who's been following her is John Daly, who is Jennifer's brother. Jennifer, the person who died from the first book, the original, you know, cheerleading captain. And he wants to find out what the hell happened to his sister. And it's so weird as well because when he introduces himself, he comes up to Corky and is like, I'm the evil spirit. And Corky's like, oh my God, cliffhanger. And then the next chapter is like, oh, I'm not really the evil spirit. He just looked very scared about that. Okay. It was honestly so fucking random. But no, yeah, he's following Corky and stuff because he wants to know what happened to his sister, which honestly, understandable. It was very weird what happened. She seemed to be alive after that incident on the bus. But then when they find her body, like she's been dead for weeks, it's weird. Like it is a weird situation, I get it. So we are setting up Sarah Beth Plummer to be a bit of a suspect. So how we have her as a suspect, you ask? She just like smiles evilly in the background. She just like has a look about her. This is something that R.L. Stine does a lot, is that if he wants someone to be a suspect, they will smile evilly in the background. They will look evil, or they will flare their eyes. So Sarah's obviously a suspect now because it's becoming apparent that the evil spirit is back and it's inhabiting someone. We just don't know who. So Kimmy vows to help with finding who the evil spirit is. And also Chip was supposed to meet Corky after his woodshop. So Corky goes to his woodshop class place and Chip is dead. He's had his hand taken off and yeah, he's gone now. So you know when I said, oh, it won't be too much of a problem, the fact that Corky is with her dead sister's boyfriend, not a problem anymore because Chip's dead. So 4 weeks after Chip's funeral has been and gone, Kimmy, Corky and Deborah, they all go to the burned out mansion because Sarah Fier was married to Simon Fier. So that burned out mansion we kept hearing about in the original series, they actually go inside it. And I'm so underwhelmed by it because R.L. Stine doesn't really... I feel bad because in the very first book, in the first Evil book, he had a good way of description and made it feel very atmospheric. When we finally get inside this burnt out mansion, all we get is, oh, it feels evil in here. It just feels evil. And that's what the characters say over and over again. I'm just like, okay, but like describe this place to me. Make me feel like it's evil. And so it just felt so underwhelming because we finally get to see what was inside this mansion after all this time. So that was underwhelming. And also, yeah, all 3 girls, they say this evil spirit rise from the floor and they all scream, cliffhanger. It was just a dog. This evil spirit was a dog. So here's just the lies. The lies he's telling us just to have an effective cliffhanger, just to take it back at the start of the next chapter. It was a fucking dog. Anyway, they find out that John, Jennifer's brother, has been missing for 2 days. And they end up going to Sarah Beth Plummer's place as well. And they find that the envelopes, the letters addressed to Sarah is actually addressed to Sarah Fier. So they think, is she actually Sarah Fier? Turns out Sarah Beth is a descendant of Sarah Fier. And she just doesn't use the Fier name because, yeah, people think it's a cursed name. So she just goes by Sarah Beth Plummer. So nothing really too strange about that. But she does, again, share more information about Sarah Fier, just that she was having an affair. She repeats the whole, oh yeah, she died when, you know, the water was calm. And it doesn't make sense that the boat capsized. And she also says that she knew John years and years and years before. So they have that kind of connection. They did also spot John and Sarah dancing at a grave. And Sarah explained, oh yeah, John wanted to see if you could raise a spirit. And so I pretended to show him kind of thing. That's what Sarah's excuse was. Oh, they also find out that Sarah randomly got sick. And the doctors actually dug a grave for Sarah Fear before she even died. Like, they just gave up on her. They were like, oh, she's going to die, so we might as well just start digging the grave now. Bear in mind, Sarah Fear was still alive at the time. And Sarah does make a recovery. So isn't that so weird? Well, like, what do you mean? Could you imagine going to hospital, being like, oh, I've got this problem, and the doctor's being like, you kind of a lost cause. We might as well just start digging your grave now. Like, what? I started feeling really bad for Sarah Fear at that time. Oh, and they also find out that when Sarah and the others on that boat died in the lake, they were burned. Like, the bodies were kind of burned. The water in the lake scalded them, even though the water wasn't scalding hot. So that was, again, like another interesting little nod to a lot of like the scalding hot water scenarios that happens in the series. So we find out that John has been drowned in the lake and his body has been scalded. We also have another dangerous cheerleading practice session where Corky gets on top of the pyramid and Kimmy's supposed to, catch her, but Kimmy freezes just like how Bobby froze in the very first book, and Kimmy freezes, she can't move, and Corky falls and hurts herself. So the climax of this book turns out to be Corky, she's gonna take a bath, and then Kimmy suddenly appears behind her, and it turns out that Kimmy is the one who's been infected this entire time. She's the one with the evil spirit inside her. They have a bit of a fight. Corky starts to like drown Kimmy in her bathtub, and she sees like this green oozy liquid thing coming out of Kimmy's mouth, and that's like the evil spirit's like gone down the drain. And then Kimmy comes to and she's like, where am I? What the hell's happened? The last thing Kimmy remembers was when Corky was fighting Jennifer in the graveyard, and that was when the evil spirit inhabited Kimmy, and that's been weeks. Absolute weeks since that happened. So Kimmy doesn't know anything. And then Corky gets a message at the end, like she gets this random letter saying, oh, the evil can't be drowned. And that's how we end the book. So a very good kind of ending there, a little bit of a wrap up. Like, I wasn't really expecting Kimmy too much during the book itself. I really don't know what I was expecting. It was a bit weird that we had the random Sarah Fear descendant in this, who doesn't appear again, by the way. And also we had more confirmation of like the evil, like talking, saying, oh, I'm getting revenge for the people who I inhabit. So she was getting revenge for Jennifer apparently in the first book, this evil spirit, and then getting revenge for Kimmy in this book. And I'm just like, you're an evil spirit who's been trapped for like 100 years. Why do you care about petty high school drama? If you have finally been awakened after 100 years, what would you do? Why would you stick around for, like the petty teen drama, killing teens who literally aren't doing anything? It's just so weird. Like, why are you that involved? Go off and do your evil things, take over the world. But to get revenge for the host is a bit odd to me. It really is a little bit odd to me. But this one gets a 3 stars, not as good as the first book, but still a really enjoyable experience. The formula is starting to get a little bit repetitive, but not as bad as like what happens in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th books. So we still have a semblance of a really entertaining story in this one. But again, not perfect. I found some of the writing to be quite lazy, lazier than the first book, especially with the descriptions of the mansion. So unfortunately couldn't beat the evil of the first evil. So here we have the 3rd evil, which is the conclusion to the original Cheerleaders trilogy. Probably should have left it here, not gonna lie. But in this one, we have the same cast of characters, but we meet Hannah, who is trying out for the cheerleaders. She is a freshman, and again, she's very, very good. So obviously the other cheerleaders hate her, which I find like a little bit insufferable at this point, because we had like good character progression for like Kimmy and Deborah. Although Deborah does seem to like Hannah more than the others. But like, say for instance, like Corky too, she remembers what it felt like when her and her sister first tried out in the first book. And even she seems to be like very cold towards Hannah. Even though she's been in Hannah's spot before, she still treats her that way. And I'm like, we need a little bit more consistency with the character work, honestly. I find this so funny. When Kimmy goes to Corky, how are you doing? Okay, I guess Corky shrugged. No, I mean, really, Kimmy insisted her dark eyes staring into Corky's as if searching for something. And then Corky's like, I'm doing a little bit better now. I just wanted to point that out again because, like, why? Like, how are you doing? No, really, how are you doing? It's just so funny to me. But Corky's having nightmares of her sister Bobby kind of opening her head up to show, like, snakes and cockroaches in her head. So it feels like her sister is trying to tell her something, even though her sister can't speak. So those visuals were kind of good, but a very Goosebumps coded too. Like, with all the cockroaches and stuff, it just felt like something out of Goosebumps. Corky's brother, Sean, who we barely mentioned, he ends up pranking Corky by leaving a severed, bloated head in Corky's bed. Cliffhanger. Turns out it was an April Fool's joke in the next one. So Hannah has been accepted into the cheerleaders and they're off to cheerleading camp, which I'm like, okay, we're going to change up the set a little bit. But only really most of part 1 is set at this cheerleading camp. We do come back to Shadyside after part 1. But while they're at cheerleading camp, Deborah, Kimmy, and Corky are sharing a room, but Hannah asks and begs for one of them to swap with her, and Deborah ends up swapping with her. So Hannah is now bunking with Kimmy and Corky. Even though they have to be somewhere in 5 minutes, Hannah is like, oh, Corky, can you run me a bath? I'm just like, it's honestly such a random, weird request. Even though they have to leave any minute. But Cody's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So she starts to run her a bath. At one point, Kimmy goes into the bathroom as well. And then Hannah goes to take this bath. And then she's screaming. She's screaming because the bath is way too hot. And she thinks Corky did it on purpose. And Corky's like a little bit suspicious of Kimmy because she's like, I'm sure I saw you go in the bathroom as well. Like, did you make the water temperature go up or something? So there's a little bit of suspicion there. So if the evil is back, is it still in Kimmy? Or what? You just don't really know. And then again, this is another thing that pisses me off in Fear Street, is that characters say this all the time. They say, oh, someone should kill her, or I could kill her. Something should happen to them. They say these really menacing, threatening things that lead nowhere half the time. But yeah, Kimmy says about Hannah, oh, I could just kill her. Oh no, she says this specifically. Someone has to take Hannah down a peg or two. Sometimes I could just murder her. Couldn't you? No? Again, the amount of times they say things like that in Fear Street is just ridiculous. So there is a girl at cheerleading camp who Kimmy recognizes as Blair. Blair does have a little bit of an accident later on, so again, suspicion is on Kimmy. We also have someone cutting Hannah's braid off in the middle of the night. Could be Kimmy, could be Corky. Corky actually ends up finding the scissors, and there's a really random moment. This is when we find out who is being inhabited by the evil. Turns out to be Corky. Corky, our main character, she's the one who has the evil in her. She actually starts to walk towards Hannah with the scissors and she's about to kill her with them. That's kind of how we find out. And I didn't mind that twist, having our main character, the one being our narrator, as the evil. That's fine. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the grand scheme of things, considering we've been in Corky's head up to this point. So to just randomly have her being the evil at this point, the flow wasn't there, but I like the twist. So I can't really fault it too much. What I do like about this though is that we get to see a different side of the evil spirit, so we get to find out a little bit more about it and how it affects the host. So Corky ends up trying to break her brother's arm, but she also tries to stop herself because the evil spirit is making her do that, and she kind of realizes, so she's fighting with herself to stop that from happening. And there are moments when the evil is asleep, but also Corky can go into the memories of this evil spirit, so she can find out more about Seraphia, what the evil spirit is doing and what it wants and all this, that and the other. So I really do enjoy the fact that we got a little bit more progression with the main plot of this evil spirit. But the voice of this evil spirit is still quite strong, and it's telling Corky to kill Deborah. Corky tries to run Deborah over with a car, isn't successful. Deborah immediately gets into the car, even though it's a bit damaged, and Corky's like, oh, can we go to the old abandoned mill so we can talk? And Deborah's like, yeah, sure, why not? Why not? Let's go to this freaking abandoned mill where no one's going to be, with this really suspicious person who just almost ran me over. But no, let's just do it. So Corky was about to push Deborah off this mill, but then this random man shows up and he's like, hey, you can't be there, get away. I was laughing so hard at this interaction. Corky has a little bit of a slip up with Deborah. So as they're kind of going off, Deborah says, we didn't really get to talk, Deborah said quietly, pushing open the door. I'll kill you tomorrow, Corky told her. Deborah's eyes opened wide. Huh? What did you say? I said I'll call you tomorrow, Corky replied, realizing her slip. That made me laugh so much, I don't know why. It was just so funny, I'll kill you tomorrow. Come on, Deborah, open your freaking eyes. So now, unsuccessful, killing Deborah, Corky is able again to go into the dreams of this evil spirit, and she goes back to 1898, should be 1899, but obviously typo or something. And she is on this boat with Seraphia, on the lake before she dies. And turns out the evil spirit was taking over Seraphia at the time. Sarah kills a random butterfly, and this evil spirit has been making Sarah do some horrible murders up until this point. She even killed a random police officer and somehow still got away with it. I don't know how. I don't understand a lot of these police investigations in Fear Street. They just don't make a whole lot of sense. But Seraphia, she ends up trying to take control of her body, and she's got, the kids on the boat and the servant and stuff, and she throws herself into the water, but the evil spirit is trying to stop her from doing that, so it's rocking the boat. And then Sarah does get in the water, and as the evil spirit is coming out of her, but it's not coming out of her because I don't know how this happens. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense during this moment. It's an exciting moment, don't get me wrong, but like the evil spirit kind of comes out of Sarah and there's like a bit of an explosion, and that's what turns the boat over and kills the other people on the boat. However, the evil spirit is still back inside Sarah as she drowns, and that's how, you know, the evil spirit has been trapped in Sarah's grave for the last 100 years. But I don't understand how that happened if it also made the boat capsize, because then it would have been released. You know, like, so it did make sense. I don't think Stine really mapped that out or anything, but it was a good scene, exciting. Didn't mean like everyone died, and that's we got to see how they died too. So that's something that was introduced in the first book, and now we're getting a bit more answers there. And Corky has seen all of this. So now Corky thinks, oh, the only way to stop this evil spirit is if I drown myself, which is so heartbreaking because Corky's like, I'm too young to die. I don't want to die. I've barely lived. And yet she feels like she needs to drown herself in order for this evil spirit to die with her. The evil spirit does get one last tries to get one last kill in, and gets Kimmy to come to like these cliffs, and there's like the river down below, and she's pushed over the cliffs, and Kimmy like lands in the water. We think she's dead. Corky manages to get control of herself and throws herself into the water too. She starts to drown, and then it's kind of like fade to black. It's kind of a little bit left up in the air what kind of happens next. And then Kimmy, she actually isn't dead, and she manages to do like some CPR on Corky, and then Corky wakes up, and the evil spirit was in the water. It's gone. It should be gone anyway. Even though it can't be drowned, apparently, they're like, oh, it's over. The evil is over. Like, it's outside of me now. We should be fine, right? Oh, and there was actually like this really touching moment as well when Bobby's smiling face comes out of the water too. Like, Corky looks down and she sees Bobby smiling up at her, and then she disappears. So it kind of feels like Bobby's finally able to move on after, you know, her brutal murder in the first book. So that was actually really touching too, like so nice, which is why this could have been a good ending to, you know, the Cheerleaders trilogy. But no, we do have 2 more after this. So I end up giving this one 2.5 stars. Again, like, so much of it felt repetitive. Would get like this random cheerleader practice, something bad would happen. It would just be a rinse and repeat kind of storyline at this point. But I did like the fact that Corky was the one who was being possessed, even though some of it again didn't make sense because we were in her head beforehand, so we should have had a heads up there. But no, I was still thoroughly entertained by it. Love getting some more answers, and there are more answers to come too. Like, not everything is like wrapped up in Seraphina's story here, but I feel like it could have been a good ending, you know? So 2.5, which I think is pretty average. So next, we actually have the new evil, and this is part of the Super Chiller spin-off series, but it's still part of the Cheerleader series. We follow the same characters again for the 4th and final time. They're not in the final book, not because they all die or anything. There is one death, which I was actually kind of sad about. But yeah, this is like the last time we'll see Corky and Kimmy and Deborah. But I kind of love the fact that this is part of the Super Chiller spin-off series. I feel like, should I do the Super Chiller series after the Cheerleader series? I don't know. But now we have Corky, Kimmy, and Hannah. They're all best friends now, even though they made Hannah's life hell in the previous book. They're all best friends now. They're driving. Well, Kimmy's driving, and Hannah won't put her seatbelt on because she's a dumbass bitch. And Kimmy's like, please put your seatbelt on. That's dangerous. And Hannah's like, I don't need to put my seatbelt on. Are you stupid? And they're talking about a girl called Naomi Klein, who is trying out for the Cheerleaders. She's replacing Ronnie. I've barely mentioned Ronnie because Ronnie has barely done anything in the series so far, but Ronnie's off to a new school. Miss Green, the cheerleading coach, is also moved as well, so she's been replaced by Miss Closter. I don't know why she was replaced. Like, there's genuinely not a reason for it. We could have just had Miss Green be in this book again, but no, for some reason we have a different coach. But Hannah's very jealous of Naomi because Naomi is so good. So again, we have that jealous trope with these characters. We can't just have a new cheerleader join them without judgment being rained down upon them. But anyway, the car spins out of control. Hannah goes through the windshield, and it's so funny because Kimmy's like, it's back. The evil is back. I'm just like, no, you're a shit driver. There was genuinely no safety in that car whatsoever. You just shit. And we also had Hannah, when she flies out the windshield, she flew out and we heard a sickening crack. What did I tell you about those cracks, huh? So Hannah's in the hospital. They're talking about the evil, like Kimmy and Corky, they're talking about the evil. And they're saying, oh, the evil is trapped under the ice in that river. And then Corky gets concerned because there's a hole in the ice. I'm just like, well, that ice wasn't frozen over right after the evil left you at the end of the 3rd book. So, like, the evil could have left if it wanted to leave. Just because there's a hole in the ice now doesn't mean that now the evil is out. Because that river was not frozen that entire time. So again, I just, like, some things I was just like, are you characters dumb? Are you dumb? But Corky is dating a guy called Alex, and Alex is a little bit of a an oddball. He seems to be helping a lot of girls with their homework, so there might be some cheating involved, but it isn't confirmed. There is a storyline later on where it turns out that Alex has been getting a tutor, which is why he's been a little bit shady with Corky, but that doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain why he hangs out with so many girls and goes to their houses a lot, so just saying. And especially if he needs a tutor and he's going to all these girls' houses to help them with their homework, you know, 2 plus 2 does not equal 3. So in order to replace Hannah, because she's now in the hospital, they have cheerleading tryouts again. And there is Ivy, Rochelle, and Lauren. They try out. Chloe and Kimmy decide that Rochelle should be the one who joins them. And Ivy is really weird here. She overhears them, like she's like kind of eavesdropping, and they're like, what are you doing? And Ivy's like, oh, nothing. And so when they're about to tell them, oh, Rochelle made the cut, when that is about to happen, a screwdriver suddenly gets, you know, put into Rochelle's neck. And it just flew out because there's workers doing work in this gym thing. And the screwdriver just like flew out of their hand and went into the neck. This is not explained later on. There is a massive loophole here, but I'll get back to it when we get there. But yeah, the screwdriver just comes out of this worker's hand and just goes straight into Rochelle's neck. Rochelle's fine, but there is a lot of blood. And I'm thinking this whole cheerleader scenario needs to be cancelled. The amount of times there's been death, people have been seriously maimed and hurt and put in the hospital from all of this. Cancel cheerleading. Cancel all sports in that school. You're obviously shit at keeping students safe. So just cancel it all. But anyway, they announced that Ivy is going to be the one actually to replace Hannah, and Lauren goes off in a huff. Lauren actually ends up getting cast as like a sort of alternate cheerleader person. So she still gets to be part of the team. There's too many names. There's too many new characters and shit. It's sometimes really hard to keep up. We have cheerleading practice again. Heather needs to pull the cannon and Ivy wants to do it. But Heather's like, no, hey, it's my job to pull the cannon. I'm doing the cannon. Or at least like there are other people doing the cannon, but Ivy isn't one of them. And then Heather, she pulls the thing on her cannon and it ends up backfiring on her. So Ivy is now a suspect in that, or she might be the one who's inhabited by the evil. It does snap Heather's neck back. She's fine. But again, that's another student hurt by all of this. And then even after this is when I really can't stand Corky too. Deborah is like, well, both Deborah and Kimmy are like, the evil is back. What are we going to do? And bear in mind, Corky up until this point as well has been like, damn, there's, you know, the hole in the frozen ice. I think the evil is out. Randomly, as Deborah is talking about like why Ivy could be the one who's inhabited by the evil, Corky cries, Deborah, this is crazy. You don't believe what Deborah is saying, do you? To Kimmy. You don't believe that Ivy is possessed by the evil. Even if Ivy is causing the accidents, it doesn't mean that the evil is back. You haven't proven anything, Deborah. We have to believe that they've all been accidents. We have to believe that. Otherwise, it's just too frightening. Stop, Deborah, just stop. You want to believe the evil is back. You think it's really exciting and fascinating. I'm just like, what do you mean? You've spent the previous 60 pages up until this point being like, oh my God, I think the evil is back. Just to suddenly be like, no, you're crazy, Deborah. The evil is not back. It was such a huge shift in her character there. And it's not explained, by the way. Like, she isn't, you know, possessed by the evil or anything. It's just a really stupid, random choice that RSI made for this character. Hated it. Couldn't stand it. There was no need. Like, you've been through this shit 3 times up until this point, Corky. Anyway, it kind of does turn out that there wasn't an evil, at least up until this point anyway, but I'll get to that in a second. They are doing a game and they have fire batons that they've dipped into kerosene. Please let me know if you are a cheerleader or if you've ever cheerleaded before. Have you ever, in a cheerleading routine, put batons, whatever you want to call them, into kerosene and lit them on fire for a routine? A cheerleader called Naomi gets hurt during this. The sparks end up coming onto her and she goes up in flame. They do put it out. Naomi's fine. But it does also mean that there's a spot open for Lauren to join the cheerleading squad. So Ivy and Lauren seem to be like, hee, like so glad that this has happened kind of thing. But I'm just like, how? How is this cheerleading squad getting away with cannons and fire batons? Like, this whole scenario is just bizarre. Surely that would not pass a health and safety check. Anyway, they notice Ivy skating on the ice and it looks like she might be doing a pattern. So they're like, is she like, again, summoning the evil spirit? So Corky, Kimmy, Deborah, they decide, let's, you know, make a frozen ice skating party and invite everyone. And that'll be really cool because then we can lure Ivy there and then drown her because she's obviously the evil spirit. So they get like this whole party started on this ice. Alex, Corky's boyfriend, randomly dresses up as a Santa and has an icicle and looks like he's about to stab her. But then he's just like, I'm just kidding. Like, I wasn't actually going to like do anything. I wasn't going to stab you or anything. Weird. And that's like the only moment as well. I don't know why that has to be the cover of this book, but it was just a really weird, stupid moment. And I don't understand why they did this. But Kimmy, Deborah, and Corky. They have candles, they're on the ice, and they decide to summon the evil spirit because they think it's an Ivy. So if they summon the evil spirit, then she will come to them. Turns out the evil spirit actually wasn't out. So when they cast a spell to summon the evil spirit comes out of the ice, and they've actually brought it about. And the black smoke covers all of the partygoers, and, well, it's obvious that everyone is now infected by the evil spirit. However, it doesn't clock for Corky, Kimmy, and Deborah, who's been through this 3 times before. This is their 4th time encountering this evil. They don't connect the dots that, oh, this black smoke and everything's come over all of our partygoers. They don't connect the dots that they are now the evil spirit. Like, what the fuck? Because there's a time jump after that as well. Like, when they realize what they did, like, oh, we've actually unleashed it. It also means that when that screwdriver just randomly flew out of that guy's hand at the start and, like, hit Rochelle in the neck, that shouldn't have been able to happen because the evil spirit wasn't even there. And it definitely proves as well that Kimmy's a shit driver, because when she careened off the road, it was because she was shit at driving. So, that plot hole out of the way, it is weeks later. They, again, haven't connected the dots that the evil spirit is, like, all their partygoers. They have more cheerleading tryouts because they're acting like nothing happened. And a girl called Lena, she tries out for the cheerleaders and she joins. And Lauren says about Lena, couldn't you just kill her? Couldn't you just... It's given repetition. They have the confetti cannons again, except this time when they pull the cannon, black tar comes out instead, because this evil spirit is so evil, it's to, like, put, you know, black tar in the cannons. You waited 100 years to put black fucking tar in cannons for this random ass cheerleading squad in the middle of America. There's better things you could do with your time. We have Jay, who is Alex's friend, watching Corky and Alex kiss, and his eyes are flaring, and he has these evil eyes, so he's a suspect. Lena randomly starts doing backflips and she can't stop. It's like when they were getting controlled in the earlier books when they would freeze and they couldn't move. Now, like, she just can't stop doing backflips, Lena, and Ivy's in the background looking pleased with herself. So again, suspect, she's smiling evilly, so she's a suspect. How do they not remember that all the black smoke covered everyone? Also, the Tiger's coach randomly gets killed by a water bottle shoved down his throat, and he drowns on the water that's been put in his mouth kind of thing. That was fine, but it was, like, really random too. Anyway, Kimmy and Corky end up following Ivy to the river, and then Deborah comes as well, who had followed the other people on the team. And Corky and her friends see all of their partygoers on the ice, and yeah, it turns out that they are now all the evil spirit, which again was really fucking obvious up to this point. They saw the black smoke. Anyway, a random dog is barking at them, so Ivy and Jay grab his dog and throw it up in the air, and it doesn't kill the dog, but the dog does land with a sickening crack on the ice and limps off. Alex is there as well, so, like, literally everyone apart from Kimmy and Corky and Deborah is, like, infected by the evil spirit, and then they're caught, like, they have to run away. Corky splits off from everyone, so we don't, like, say Kimmy or Deborah, and then Alex catches up with her and says, hey, you need to come back to the river, I have something to show you. As they're coming back, and this is so sad, I was actually really sad about this, when Corky comes back, she sees Kimmy's dead. Like, Kimmy's actually dead, she's under the ice. She's under the ice and she's been trapped under the ice and she's dead. I'm like, not Kimmy, this is her 4th book, like, she's been in since the 1st book and she's dead. That was actually really sad, and we didn't even get to see it happen. So I was really sad about that. That was actually upsetting. So Corky gets away again, and all of the people with the evil spirit in them are conveniently on the school bus. And Corky is just like, I've got an idea. If I need to drown the evil spirit, what if I carjack this school bus and drive them all into the river? And that's exactly what she does. And you know what? I freaking love that plan. I love that idea. It was so good. She literally gets the car, she drives without them noticing that she's the one driving the bus, and she opens the door. Kind of a nice little callback to the 1st book when Jennifer, like, flew out the door. Nice little callback to that, and she starts to drive towards the cliff, and Corky jumps out of it before the bus goes over, and that's so exciting. And I kind of love the way that the chapter ends as well, because she watches the bus go under the water, and she says no one came up, no one swam to the surface. Corky drowned the evil, but had she drowned all her friends too? I was like, I low-key fucking love that. That is genius. Genius. And then Corky gets to the school, and she sees everyone there. She's like, wait, what's going on? Like, Alex shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be there. You should have died on the bus. And then Corky randomly passes out. She wakes up in the hospital. The whole bus incident still happened, but the whole thing in the gym didn't happen. But the school kids were pulled from the bus. Some local fishermen were fishing nearby and they saw them and saved them all. So no one died, which is good. But it seems like the evil has been killed once again. And that's essentially how we end the book. We end with the book with Koki in hospital just being like, oh, great, I've stopped it. It was kind of underwhelming. I would have loved to actually, and the whole like getting to the school and things being a dream and stuff, that was just so random. And I felt like it was just padding to make the page count the highest page count of all the series so far. This is 199 pages, which is the longest. And I don't know why, because we didn't need that whole sequence. We could have literally just had them, you know, going into the water, the bus and everything, and have that be like the really dramatic finale moment, have Koki pass out, wake up in the hospital, and oh, everyone's there and everyone's fine. It was a really underwhelming finale after the whole bus incident. So yeah, I end up giving this one 2.5 stars again. There were moments of it that I really, really did like. I really did like the whole bus sequence. And I love the fact that we had the girls actually accidentally summon the evil spirit and, you know, being too paranoid about it, because I thought that was a good angle too. Like, we actually did have the evil spirit causing all that havoc in the first 3 books, but what if they were being too paranoid about it now that they accidentally called it? Like, that is a good angle, but I thought it was done so poorly. And I love the idea that there was more than one person inhabited by the evil spirit. But like, if that was the case, like, again, it just offers more loopholes for this evil spirit. Like, if it's that powerful, if it's that good, why didn't it just do that before? And they keep trying to drown it, and it just doesn't drown. So like, you've just seen all of these people go in the water, and we've been told before, like, oh, this evil can't drown, but you think everything's okay again? Like, no. Whatever. I really do have to take what I get with the series. And yeah, unfortunately, I didn't love this book, but it wasn't the worst. It's definitely better than the next book in the series. So, The Evil Lives, the final book in the Cheerleaders series, and I have no idea why we follow a whole new cast of characters. It's the same school, the exact same scenario, except we do get more answers about things like with Sarah Fier and stuff. We actually get a proper conclusion there. I don't know why we didn't have Koki and her friends, well, the ones who are left, R.I.P. Kimmy. I don't know why we didn't have Koki be the one to, you know, figure it out and end this whole nightmare. It feels way less satisfying when it's brand new characters and characters we haven't really cared about for 5 books up to this point. It just feels really random and strange not to have Koki be part of this story. Koki kind of is part of the story, actually, but for a really dumbass, awful reason that I think just makes her entire character seem like the dumbest and most infuriating character in the series, and I hate that we did that with her character. So in this one we follow Amanda. She is the new cheerleading captain. Must be a few years after all the events that happened with Koki, because Koki is no longer at that school anymore. Janine is Amanda's best friend, as well as Keisha. She's a friend. There's lots of new people. There's also the new coach called Miss Daly, who has the exact same last name as Jennifer Daly from the first book, but not a relation. So I don't know why we have the unoriginal surname there, because it's just confusing. We had John Daly in the second book, Jennifer Daly in the first book, and now Miss Daly, who isn't even related to them, as the captain of the cheerleading squad. Again, like, why are we replacing more? This is the 3rd cheerleading coach we've had. Anyway, Amanda has to get a new locker 113, and in this locker she finds a duffel bag, right, that Koki left. Koki left this random ass duffel bag in a random ass locker. And in this duffel bag, there is a box. And on this box is written, "Do not open, evil inside." Why in the world would Koki leave that in a random fucking locker then? And there's also this really stupid letter from her as well. It says, "If you were reading this letter, then you've opened the box. I left it here as a warning. Please, once you finish reading, destroy this box and everything in it." Then why didn't Koki destroy it? Why did Koki leave it in a random ass locker? The evil lived, it killed. If it isn't really dead, it will kill again. Destroy this box. If this would help stop the evil, why didn't you just destroy this box beforehand? What do you mean? Do you know what's even more infuriating too? Koki left instructions on how to summon the evil spirit in this box too. Why? Literally, why would you do that? Anybody would find this random ass duffel bag with all this instructions to do the evil spirit thing. Why would you leave it in a random locker for anyone to find? I don't get it. Why would you want someone else to summon the evil spirit? I don't get it. What, to put a stop to it once and for all? You're putting people in danger. And if you could stop it yourself, and if destroying this evil box means destroying the evil spirit, why didn't you do it yourself? It doesn't make sense. And that's why I genuinely hate what Koki did. Like, what you've just done to Koki's character is put other people in danger and leave that whole situation and give them instructions to summon the evil spirit. You were dumb. You are so dumb. So anyway, back to some petty teen drama. Amanda breaks up with Dustin, and Dustin does not take it well. There was a storyline, I think, in the Sleepwalker book, or in very many of the Fear Street books, but there's one that sticks out. I think it was a Dreamwalker book, where someone breaks up with a guy, and that guy will not take no for an answer. He just stalks her, he demands her back, it just becomes really creepy. The exact same thing happens in this one between Amanda and Dustin. Dustin will not leave Amanda alone. He's like, well, what about my feelings? And Amanda's like, I'm breaking away. I don't want to be with you. Like, what do you want from me? So yeah, that was a really weird random thing. There's also random fights between the girls. I've got all my notes on here. There's a random fight between Janine and Natalie, and Victoria is watching and she's frozen. I'm like, why do we have all of these brand new characters with names I don't care about? It's just made it, again, like so much more harder to follow. And I wasn't rooting for anyone. I wasn't caring by this point. Also, Bobby is discussed, you know, like how she died in the showers at that school. For some reason, none of these cheerleaders knew about it. Like, they had no idea that happened. And I think only a couple of years has passed because they mentioned Corky. And they're like, oh, I think Corky was a senior when they were juniors. So potentially 2 years has passed. Potentially. But if a girl dies in your school in that awful manner, even if you were at that school at the time, you would know about it. I'm just saying you would know about it. Nobody had any idea who Bobby was. During a random moment of Dustin stalking Amanda, Amanda runs to Victoria's house, and when she goes in, she notices Victoria and their friends are surrounded by candles and they're about to summon a spirit. The evil spirit. They were like, oh, you know, like this box left instructions to summon the evil spirit. We thought, why, we might as well. Like, what's the worst that could happen? So they do that, and it doesn't seem like anything happens too much. Two guys, Brandon and Judd, they come into the house, and then Judd seems to act weird and collapses. And also Amanda has a crush on Judd, by the way. He just randomly collapses. So now you think, maybe the evil spirit has inhabited Judd. So remember Brandon's name, though. Brandon is barely mentioned or brought up, but remember Brandon. So after this, they have a Tigers game. They have a game at school, and a guy called Luke, he has the ball, and then suddenly he's like taken over, like he can't control himself. He drops the ball and he keeps running. He runs into the bleachers and it takes his scalp off. Takes his scalp off and he dies. Cancel the games. Cancel cheerleading at this point, please. I beg. There's been too much death. Like, what the hell? So instead of cancelling like any of the future games and stuff, the principal is like, oh, we're going to continue the cheerleading and the playing the games in Luke's honor. You know, even though we've had so many deaths in this team in the past few years, doesn't matter. We're still going to do it. During a random routine, a cheerleading routine, Natalie, when she does the splits, she lifts her arms up, her arms come off. And, you know, her elbows are bent the wrong way and stuff. Like, she is pretty much eviscerated in front of everyone, blood everywhere. And yeah, like, she dies. It's a great scene, don't get me wrong, because it's very exciting. But I'm like, if the evil spirit could do that, why didn't it just do that this entire time? Like, it could literally just, it could make people freeze. It could control people. So I don't understand how the evil spirit fucked up 4 times before this. Anyway, I digress. We have Amanda go to the Fear Street Cemetery. She remembers Sarah Fear was mentioned in that box that Corky left. So she goes to the grave, but the grave has been dug up and there's nothing in the coffin. And then Dustin appears out of nowhere because Dustin is a random ass stalker. And Amanda tries to push him away, but she falls into the grave. And that terrified me. And then Amanda, she's actually transported back in time when she does that. And she sees a conversation between Sarah Fear and Jane Hardy. Okay, so this is where the twist comes in. This is where the history comes in that we had no idea about. I need to put this skirt on because it's way too short. So it turns out that back in 1899, Sarah Fear and Jane Hardy switched places. So Sarah, she was called Sarah Burns at the time. She was being forced to marry Simon Fear, and she didn't want to get married. She didn't want to have kids. He hadn't met her yet either. And Jane Hardy, she had to go to like London, like she had to travel away, and she didn't want to do that. Jane wants to have a family. She wants to get married. Essentially, Sarah and Jane switch places. So Sarah Burns, aka Sarah Fear, has become Jane and is off to London, and Jane has become Sarah Burns / Fear, and she's the one getting married to Simon Fear. So this entire time, the body is Jane, in Sarah's grave is Jane, which I found like actually a really cool kind of twist. I like that. So on the way to London, the real Sarah Fear ended up getting caught in a storm and she ends up drowning, but she drowns as she is so angry at Jane because she's like, this was Jane's idea to switch places. I hate her. How dare I die when she doesn't? She gets to live my life. Like, that's not fair. So because she hated Jane so much in that moment, despite them agreeing to change places, and it obviously wasn't Jane's fault, the real Sarah Fear has become the evil spirit. And so she's gone to the fake Sarah Fear and she, possessed her. She made her kill. She's trying to get her revenge. And that's when Jane, as Sarah Fear, tried to drown the evil spirit, blah, blah, blah. All that happened. So we finally figured out the mystery. And again, it doesn't feel as satisfying because Corky didn't find it out. And we followed her for 4 books. We started that journey with her. Essentially, well, we saw with Bobby, but she died. But you know what I mean? We saw that story with those characters and they didn't get to figure that out. It's kind of underwhelming because of that, but also I loved the twist. I thought it was great. A great story. So Amanda comes back. She actually did travel back in time to say that because she's come back all wet and she goes back home and stuff. There's a random corpse that appears to Amanda, but she kind of runs away. And she sees Judd with a lot of mud on him. And, Amanda wants to try and get to Janine's house. And Judd is like, oh, well, I'll drive you. And Amanda doesn't want to be anywhere near Judd because Amanda thinks that Judd is the evil spirit. She ends up going with Judd anyway. They see Janine and Brandon leave Janine's house and go to the Fear Street Cemetery. And then when they get to the Fear Street Cemetery, Amanda ditches Judd and runs to Brandon and Janine and says, hey, Judd is the evil spirit. Judd comes over behind him and is like, I heard you, Amanda. I heard what you said about me. Turns out Judd is not the evil spirit, it's Brandon. And Brandon, again, has barely been in it, barely mentioned. And it was, again, kind of an underwhelming reveal. So Amanda and Janine fight against Brandon and they push him into the grave, into Sarah Fear's grave, with the evil spirit inside him. So they're like, oh yeah, this will be the way to defeat him. Let's quickly close it and stuff. And then the corpse that was in that grave is obviously Jane, who was pretending to be Sarah Fear, is Jane, and she sees Brandon, the evil spirit, is Sarah Fear, and she's like, I killed you. And so the corpse of Jane is tearing at Brandon. Brandon is supposed to be alive right now, and I find it so grisly that Jane is putting her claws in him, her fingers in him, and is tearing his flesh to ribbons in order to try and kill the evil spirit of Sarah Fear. I'm so sorry if I'm getting mixed up and confusing you with all of this. It does make sense in my head. I hope I'm making it make sense to you. It's just a little bit hard to explain. Anyway, Amanda goes to push Brandon into the grave. However, Brandon grabs Amanda's wrist and they both fall in. And so Brandon and Amanda, they get transported back in time again, but this time to Sarah and Jane talking on that boat on, Fear Lake before both of them die. And obviously, the real Sarah Fear shouldn't have been on that boat, but it seems like for some reason the past has changed and now Sarah and Jane are on that boat when they shouldn't. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, they've gone back in time. They say that happened, and Jane and Sarah, they have their memories of 100 years later with all of the cursing and stuff and Sarah becoming the evil spirit. And Jane is like, you've had your revenge. You made me kill. Please, leave us alone. You need to be stopped now. And so Jane and Sarah, they keep fighting. They fall into the water. Jane and Sarah die. And this is when Amanda's like, oh, now the evil spirit is gone and it's been killed forever. However, obviously that wouldn't be the case because Sarah, when she became the evil spirit, it was because she was filled with anger at Jane, and she still felt anger as she was falling into the lake. The same thing happened again. So obviously it wouldn't be over. So anyway, they come back from that whole time jump thing and they're in the hospital and Janine is there and Amanda's like, oh, do you remember the box and everything that happened with Sarah Fear? And Janine has no idea what she's talking about. So it turns out that when Sarah and Jane fought on that boat, that the evil spirit, everything that happened up to this point hadn't happened, which means the people who died, like Luke and Natalie in this book, aren't actually dead anymore. And they never found Corky's box because apparently that never was made anymore. So I was like, oh, if they actually did some time travel, does that mean all the events that happened up to this book as well, the first evil, the second evil, third evil, and the new evil, does that mean all of that never happened either? So does that mean Bobby's alive? Does that mean Kimmy's alive? Does that mean Jennifer's alive? Has all of that been retcon now? Because if the evil was never born at that time, then it couldn't have done what it did up to this point, right? At least that's what you kind of think. And it isn't explained very well, but that's what she thinks now. But then Brandon comes into the room and Amanda's like, please tell me you remember. And Brandon's like, yeah, I remember. It's time for us to do some evil. And it turns out that Sarah has possessed, it doesn't say which one which, I don't think, but Sarah has possessed one of them and Jane has possessed the other one. So now it's Sarah and Jane as the evil spirit and they're possessing together. And so the evil spirit isn't dead. There's just 2 of them now. And still the events that happened in this book up to this point haven't happened because the deaths have been retconned. So I'm like, what? I don't know. And I kind of like the idea of it, even if it doesn't make sense. Sarah and Jane drowned, but the evil didn't drown with them. Yeah, so Amanda says we can't rest. You and I have so much work to do. And that's how we end the book. So Jane and Sarah are saying, oh, we have so much work to do. so much evil to do, maybe. I mean, they've had so many chances. Sarah had so many chances to do proper evil, but instead she decided to involve herself in random teenage bullshit instead. So there's so many questions after this book since time travel got, brought into it. And it was time travel because, things changed from what happened in the past to now, meaning that whole sequence of events has been changed completely. So it's definitely time travel. I don't get it. But I'm going to give this book 2 stars. Even though I did like some of the twists, I thought the story of Sarah, Fia, and Jane swapping identities was a really good one. But I just didn't love the fact that we changed all of the characters because there was no logical reason to do that. There was genuinely no reason to do that. Even if Stine wanted to change up the formula and be like, oh, we kind of need fresh blood in this, the exact story was still the same. Random cheerleader accidents happening, random bullshit, essentially. And it didn't improve the story by having different characters at all. It detracted from it. And getting to that conclusion of Sarah and Jane at the end there was just not as satisfying because the original characters didn't find that out. And for some strange reason, we had those characters for 4 books out of 5. So why in the random 5th ass book, the last book where everything gets wrapped up, is it brand new characters? I didn't like that aspect of it. So 2 stars, my least favourite one. Some of it didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I was still roughly enjoying my time reading it, but not perfect. And I don't think a Fear Street book could ever really be perfect because it's just not really written to be perfect, So I'm lowering my expectations the more I read Fear Street books. But hey, as a wrap up of the entire series, this was a very entertaining ride. I couldn't believe half the stuff that happened in this. And so for that reason alone, I would recommend the Fear Street Cheerleader series. The original trilogy, definitely better than what came next, but definitely worth checking out. And again, like if you enjoy the Netflix trilogy, you might actually enjoy these more than you would the original Fear Street books, because this had like a little bit more of the supernatural, a little bit more what I enjoy in like these kinds of old nostalgic teen drama horror books. But hey, I have to be honest, as much as I love Stine, I have to be honest with my opinions on this. Even if it gets me hate online, I don't care. The Fear Street and the Goosebumps girlies hate me. They hate me, but look, I'm not changing my mind. I ain't gonna blow smoke up Stine's ass just because he's my childhood hero, okay? I will tell you if he's right in his age like milk. But that was the Cheerleader series done. I would actually like to know what Fear Street spin-off series you would like to see me read next. I don't have any other Fear Street books, but if I know what series I should probably prioritize, like what spin-off series I should prioritize next, I will try and get those books secondhand online and then continue to work through all of the Fear Street books like my original plan was years ago. Oh, and if you've seen the new Fear Street Prom Queen movie, like it still hasn't come out by the time I filmed this video or when I upload this video, but in the future when it's come out, please let me know if you've seen it and let me know down below if you enjoyed it. I have such high hopes for that movie, you have no idea. I really hope it's good. That's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Have you read the Fear Street Cheerleader series? Did you agree or disagree with my opinions? Which is absolutely fine if you disagree. Just keep it respectful. But yeah, let's just chat all things Fear Street down below. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel. If you'd like to join my Patreon, then the link is in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.